So here I am taking a bikini bottom and tracing it. Mine is already high-waisted, but if you want, you can take a regular bikini bottom and measure up to how high-waisted you want it to be. And now I'm just taking a pencil and going in darker so you guys can see it. And now I'm just adding a 1 centimeter seam allowance at the top. Well, and all over. I'm just taking the paper and cutting it, and I'm going to fold it in half for symmetry. And I'm just cutting it out. And now I'm just taking the extra piece of poster board and I'm putting the back bikini bottom that I traced, and I'm just going to trace it out again to make the front. So now I'm taking this other bikini that I have and I'm tracing the front of it because I want it to be like nice and thin. And I'm just going over darker in pencil so that you guys can see. And folding it in half. And then I'm gonna cut it like before. Now I'm just measuring about an inch and a half in to make the little waistband part. And I'm taking a piece of paper for a straight line, but as you'll see that my straight line isn't that great and I'm gonna have to fix it. And then I'm just putting the two bikini bottoms on top of each other, and I'm gonna cut it out. And that's what it will look like. Now I'm just taking the top and I'm tracing it out. I'm using a sports bra, but you guys can use a bikini top that you like if you want, or even like the top of a tank top. And then I'm just drawing off to the side because I want it to go all the way to the back, so I'm just doing little triangles to the end of the poster board. So now I'm just adding a 1 centimeter seam allowance on the top. I didn't add any seam allowance on the bottom because I already felt like the sports bra was longer than what I wanted the bikini to be. So I'm just adding that 1 centimeter seam allowance. And now I'm just taking scissors and cutting it out. I honestly would recommend folding it and then cutting it out first. Like, I cut it out halfway, then folded it and tried to cut it, but that kind of made it difficult. So I would recommend cutting the bottom and then folding it and then cutting the top part for the symmetry. And this is what the top should look like. I'm just taking the pattern, tracing it out with some Sharpie. I definitely recommend doing it with chalk, but I just wanted to do it in Sharpie so that you guys could see it better. Doing the same for the top. And then for the waistline, I'm just taking the little waist piece that I cut off and I'm tracing it halfway, not doing the top part, because we're gonna flip it over and make it one long piece so that it just folds over seamlessly when we sew it on. And then this is what it should look like traced out. So this is what it looks like all traced out. So you're gonna have 2 top pieces, 2 front pieces, and 2 back pieces. And now I'm just pinning the hip lines together, like where your leg sticks out, on each of the piece of the front and bottom back pieces. But don't do all 4 together, like 2 and 2. And now I'm just sewing it all together. And now I'm just taking the front and the back piece and I am opened up the sides to make it seamless, and I'm gonna sew along that. And make sure you line up the 2 seams so that everything is all equal when you sew it together. And now I'm just sewing along those lines. I'm just taking the 2 crotch pieces and I'm sticking them into each other. Now I'm going to sew around that. And this is kind of difficult, but like you don't want to sew it all together in one line. You want to like do a little loop in a circle, like what my finger showed. And now I'm just taking the hip pieces, or like the waistline piece, I'm pinning it together and I'm going to sew along those 2 lines. Now I'm just taking the waistband and I'm pinning it together, folded it over, and pinning it together so that it can be nice and seamless at the top. And now I'm just taking my iron and ironing it just so it's a lot easier to sew and everything lays flat. And now I'm just pinning it on. You want to pin it so it's like all the way around the whole bottom. And when you're sewing, make sure you like sew it in a circle so that you don't sew all the pieces together. And now I'm just sewing the waistband on. And this is what the bottom should look like. And now for the tops, you're going to put the two right sides together and you're going to pin it. And then you're going to want to sew along where you pinned. And here I am sewing the two top pieces together. And then you're going to want to take two pieces that are about 30 inches and one piece that's a yard and 1 inch in width. And you're going to want to fold it over and sew it together for the straps, which is what I'm doing here. And then you're just going to cut off the excess fabric so that it's easy to turn inside out. And then you're going to take a safety pin and you're going to put it on an edge of one of them, stick it in, and then like gently like massage it through. And that's going to turn the straps inside out. Then you're going to iron it based along the seam to make it all nice and flat so that it's easy to sew on. And then we're pinning it, I'm pinning it so it's like kind of like the right sides together, and then I'm gonna sew on top so that it can like flip inside out, as you guys will see. And this is different from how we're gonna sew on the top piece that does like the shoulder straps part. So we're just gonna sew along where we pinned. And then for the top piece, we're gonna pin it on the like scoop neckline part. And this one's gonna be different than what we did before. As you see, I can kind of flip it inside out so it's nice and thin, but this one we're just gonna sew a stitch right across, like right on top of it. So sewing along the top. And boom, there's your bikini. Ta-da!